Hey now! I guess we don't have to do an intro, but we're going to read your super chats from the last conversation.
And an impromptu stream on the provenance of
Yeah.
the word voluminous.
You want to sneak that in here? Okay, we can sneak that in here. Look at
Look,
this. I thought this.
I'm,
Okay.
I'm
Adam wants
only
to
look.
sneak it in
I'm
here. Okay.
joking. Look, I knew
Is
that
he?
we'd get a
Is
giant
he?
laugh.
He's sneaking it in.
Look,
He's like, okay, I don't want anyone to know my dark secret.
I only brought it up because I thought it'd get a big laugh out of you, and it did. So look, obviously let's talk about our big time talk with Cenk Uger.
Yeah. That was fun. That was a very interesting conversation. A very
It
fun
was great.
conversation.
Look, no, we didn't. So Sitch and I prepared for this, and we did basically. I mean, we talked on the phone probably for 3 hours because we did like 3 talks for probably for an hour apiece, and we kind of we're trying to get better at this. Obviously, everyone wants to improve at what they do, right? So we hit upon kind of trying to wrangle things into broad topics that we thought would be as interesting as possible, and then putting interesting questions within those broad topics. So it's tough because some point will be made that's touches on something that's in the other broad topic. So we kind of have to restrain ourselves from jumping to the other topic, which I think that we did pretty good on.
Right.
And then also, like, neither one of us wrote Rittenhouse in our notes. Like, we didn't plan on talking about Rittenhouse. Like, I kind of just brought it up in the context of that, this thing that Anna did that I had a lot of respect for. Sitch had a lot of respect for. So, but then, I mean, I think we did 20 minutes on Rittenhouse.
Sure.
So
I'm sure people like that part. So
I don't know what more can be said on Rittenhouse, but I feel like we said more.
right. There's always more.
Right.
You do an entire stream on Rittenhouse.
So, but that was a lot of fun. Go ahead.
It is, but anyway, I mean, Rittenhouse is always weird because it's one of those things that it's endlessly interesting to talk about, despite the fact that it happened, years ago.
Well, it's a moral quandary.
Right. It's a very interesting thing. So, but anyway,
there's voluminous moral content.
There's
in
voluminous
that narrative.
moral content. That's true.
In that,
so I don't know if you know this, but before I get into super chats, enlightened centrist, S-class general, S-class detective. Okay.
Right.
The major general of detecting the truth and of objective reality found out. I mean,
look,
he went back. I don't know how he figured this out. I don't know how this big brain genius figured this out. He went back and he went through the catalogs and he found 2 incidences of me using voluminous.
You reading the word voluminous in a story and mispronouncing it.
No, that didn't happen. You made that part of it. I mean, I mispronounced it, but I said the word. What are you talking about? I wasn't reading.
You read someone else's word. Look, when I just said there's a voluminous amount of moral content in the Kyle Rittenhouse narrative, those are my words.
No, that was mine. What are you talking about?
Look, we're gonna watch the video on a different stream, but we'll have some fun with that.
Okay, look at Adam. He's trying to.
Look, I'm trying to save you, my buddy. Look,
he's trying to save himself. Okay.
Look, someone tossed a grenade and it's right next to you. I'm picking it up and throwing it in the other way.
Sure. Adam was the one that tossed that grenade. And I'm like, Adam, that grenade's a dud. He's like, no, listen, it's real Sitch. Just look at it. Look at the texture of it. Okay. It's a real grenade. You have to run from this. I'm like, I don't think so, buddy.
Right.
Anyway. Okay. Black Hat 0061 for 18 months. Thank you so much. As I'm posting in the secret membership chat. S classes, best classes. Well, thank you, Black Hat.
Yeah, nice.
PC for $50. Thank you, PC. Said, thanks for coming on, Cenk. 3 questions. If you can enact only one U.S. policy and one policy in the U.S., what would it be? What policy do you think conservatives get correct? And what are your thoughts on raising or lowering of the voting age? Great job for the cast. Adam. Yeah. I mean, so I assume a lot of you guys who were asking questions, and as Em said before, there's so much to talk about. It would be very difficult to get to your questions as well. I could almost predict that the first answer would be paid family leave. For Cenk would be the one thing the one thing he's really pushing for. I don't know what policy he would, if any, he would say conservatives get correct. So
right.
That could be an interesting one.
And maybe I'll float him the custodial voting question.
I can listen. If you ask him about lowering the voting age, I would predict he would be in favor of dropping it to 16. I can also predict that he would in no way be in favor of custodial voting.
Why? He has 2 kids. Look, he'd be up to 3 votes.
That's my prediction. Okay.
He'd be up to 3 votes. Why wouldn't he do it? Why are we disenfranchising these people?
Spoopy Lucy for 20.
Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you,
obviously, yes. $50 is very generous, and
Thank
you guys make the show possible. The one thing, look, in the end, the last question was obviously, basically, the last question was one. Do you think there's too many people who complain about politics publicly?
We don't need. Everyone knows what the question's about. Okay.
Right. Well, look, I never really got. I want to respond because I have an answer, and I never really got to say the answer in the thing.
Well, he had an interesting answer, but yeah,
he did have an interesting answer, and I mean, I do agree to some extent. His answer was basically, look, I'm not going to force anyone to be an activist or an advocate. Some people just want to talk about politics, and that's fine. I agree to some extent.
Well, yeah, but the third thing he said was, people who are stuck advocating for one thing from like the 70s. I was like, oh, okay. What is he talking? Is he talking about socialism? What's going on here?
Well, you're right. Maybe that was a shot over the bow at Hassan.
It felt like it. Well, maybe not Hassan in general, but
why? Hassan's the one advocating for the socialist policies.
I think it was a shot at Lance and leftist mafia. And people that attack them.
Okay,
that'd be my guess, but.
Lance is a dirty, dirty socialist. So
there you go.
But anyway, look, I do think if you're going to reach a certain level of stature, financial wealth, like if you're going to reach a certain impact on society, I think you are obligated to actually live the philosophy that you're preaching. Like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, do you agree with that?
I do agree. Yeah.
Look, you can't say, look, here's the values in my church and not live by those values, especially if those values have made you fabulously wealthy and famous.
Sure. Right.
Yeah.
I agree completely.
So I do. The people, look, and I think Cenk, and I believe Kyle Kalinske was involved too, doing the Justice Democrats. I mean, that takes balls. That does portray some level of authenticity that, I mean, most people I think in the political space don't have. I mean, it would be nice if more people did have that kind of authenticity.
I agree. Spoopy Lucy for $20. Thank you. Says, hi, Cenk. Are you considering running for president in 2024 election? Also, hi, Adam. He is.
Yeah, he is.
I guess we'll find out next week.
And we got to talk quite a bit about that, which was great.
Christian Baller for $20 says, speaking of using new words, I've been trying to use the word prolapse in common talk. Using it as a verb to describe destroying someone. It's way better than saying dunking. Highly recommend started using it. Listen, Christian, I love you, but I'm not going to start using the word prolapse, commonly on this stream. That's a terrible word to try to insert into the common conversation, okay? No one wants to use that word, Christian. That's bad. Awful. Okay. Andrew Clark for $2 says, hello, Kidda and Allie. Hello. Also, hello, Kitty and Allie.
Hi.
Damien Gershwin for $2 says, why does Cenk and TYT lie constantly to Americans? Well, there you go.
We did touch on that a bit. So I think that's how we got into the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff. So I do look, I and people will disagree with me. People will say that I'm naive.
Right.
I don't think a lot of people go out there and consciously lie. I think there are straw mans everywhere that it's easy for people to adopt. We often call it systemic dishonesty, or
right.
So, look, I I don't know that there's evidence of them lying purposefully.
I mean,
do you have a
yeah, I
take on
don't.
that?
I mean, I don't think Cenk or Anna, to my knowledge, have intentionally lied about anything. I'm sure they've gotten things wrong, and then but that's very different.
I don't think Anna's capable of like purposefully lying. She just seems
Yeah,
like,
well, as you said, I mean, we give her a lot of credit for acknowledging her mistake about the Kyle Rittenhouse video. So
yeah,
yeah, like obviously, like even we had the kind of the big disagreement about Kyle Rittenhouse at the end of the stream. Um, I don't think Cenk is lying about it, even though I think he's incorrect about the facts. Rosenbaum was very close to Rittenhouse when he shot him.
yeah.
There's
Did
some
they do a
contention.
DNA test on the barrel of the gun and found like he had
I
touched
don't,
the gun?
yeah, maybe I don't remember exactly. I know, I think whether they found powder on his hands or whatnot. But I mean, to me, it kind of is irrelevant. This is a guy chasing you, whether he's 6 inches from you or from 3 feet away from you or 5 feet away from you, and he's lunging at you to grab your gun. I think you're completely justified in shooting him. I don't think it really matters the exact distance at that point. You know, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to become John Wick and knock him away from you without killing him. But I mean, I don't think Cenk's lying about any of that stuff. I think he just has very set emotions and intuitions about the interaction. And I don't think anything is going to change that. I don't think any new information is going to change that. So, Ignitro for $20. Thank you. Says Sitch, quote, Republicans cry wolf about socialism. Also, Sitch, the reason we have all these commies is back during the civil rights movement, these socialists infiltrated our academics and other systems. Yeah, I mean, you understand that you can have both of those things exist at the same time, right? Like, and it's I don't think the Republicans or the right will ever exist in reality if you can't acknowledge what I just said is very true. If you're not acknowledging that, I don't think you are existing or acknowledging reality. Because as I brought up in the conversation, Ignitro, if you were alive, I don't know how old you are, if you were alive or politically cognizant during Obama years, it was very, very common for the Republicans to call Obamacare socialist and socialism. Hyper
Yep.
common.
Yep.
Okay. This is a plan that was literally created by a Republican think tank, and you're calling it socialism. And it was just, it's why, we all agree that when Richard Wolff says socialism is when the government does stuff, we all agree that that's not honest. That's not true. That's not what socialism is. You can have government, passing regulations, government doing social welfare programs, and that's not socialism. Socialism means something very specific. And the only reason Richard Wolff has adopted that framing is because the Republicans have essentially, for the last, I don't know, ever since I've been alive, the last 30 years, have been using this straw man to say anything I don't like. They're not really doing it so much now, but before the wokes have happened, it was anything I don't like is socialism. And it's kind of like how the left is saying anything I don't like is racism. And so when the actual racists show up, you say, oh, well, I can't really trust, the left because they say everything's racist. And it's exactly the same thing that the right has done. Yes, there were actual socialists during the civil rights movement. And yes, they have been worming their way into academia. But that's exactly the problem. The right kind of crying wolf about socialism is a thing that's been going on forever. And so every time you cry wolf about socialism, every time you cry wolf about racism, it obviously detracts from the real people and it hurts people's ability to identify it. So
Bravo.
Damien Gershwin for $2 says to Cenk, why are you always lying? Do you think we don't see it? Wow. So Damien, not a Cenk fan. Adam at Gadboff for 14 months says, Cenk Uyghur is the left-wing Alex Jones. Everything is a conspiracy against the American people. It's all uniparty against the me. I'm secretly super popular. Spencer Harmon for $20 says, of course. Thank you, Spencer.
Of course. How'd you feel about that Adam and Sitch show? Oh my God. It was like
terrible.
a dagger in your heart.
Terrible.
I know it. I could feel it. I was like, yes.
Cenk is obviously a team, so.
I was like, yes. Yep. Yes, Cenk Uyghur 2024.
But yeah, I mean, as I said to Cenk in the conversation, I obviously disagree with the idea that when I look at MSNBC, I see them advocating for all these policies. I'm not familiar with all these articles he's talking about where he says they're criticizing these policies. I've seen them, be in favor of raising the minimum wage. I've seen them in favor of student debt cancellation. I'm sure there are people that are against it, but I've definitely seen them. They're pushing it. I can't really conceive of the world where MSNBC and Fox are like economically pushing the same policies. I don't see it. That's a completely different world than I'm privy to.
Yeah. I look, there's a fundamental worldview difference here
Yeah.
that it's difficult to navigate, obviously, in a 2.5 hour conversation. So,
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I think there was a time period in like the 90s,
mhm.
with Clinton and like right after Clinton, and even in the 2000s, where even left-wing publications, I mean, this was kind of, the publications weren't so polarized back then, but even more left-wing publications were more on the neoliberal spectrum of things because it was kind of deemed when Clinton won that was the only way that Democrats could still win. But that is not what I see happening in the year 2023 at all. That's not my experience. Glib facsimile for $5. Hey, Glib says Cenk is a foreigner who's not eligible for president. Even if he has no base here. He can't even get 7% of the vote. So he has a debased liar. I don't know what that last part means, but yeah, I mean, I think it'll be an uphill battle for him. I'm not
Well,
familiar with the law review article he was talking about in terms of the interpretation of the Constitution. I mean, I'm skeptical that will work, but it would definitely be a very fascinating court case.
whether or not he can, catch lightning in a bottle and get some sort of groundswell of support behind him,
Mm-hmm.
I do think his audience is more helpful in this situation running for president than obviously running for Congress. Because
Right.
as YouTubers, as media personalities, your audience is split up. And I mean, I don't know how much of the
You
Young
mean split
Turks
across the country?
across the country, yeah. Well,
Right.
and internationally. Like
Yeah.
I would immediately break
Well, those
down
people
our
can't vote for
audience.
president, but
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
right.
That's why I'm saying, look, if you have an audience of 10 million and 5 million of them are Australians, that's not
Sure.
going to help you in your run for president. Look, if you have an audience of 10 million and you only have 7 people in the district that you're actually running for, that audience is going to be absolutely
Mm-hmm.
useless for you. I mean, sure, you're going to be able to get your message out to the world, but you're not going to be able to get your message out to the small district in California
Right.
where you're running for Congress. And ultimately, I think that's what was the problem with Cenk's campaign, congressional campaign, because you have this belief that you've got a huge audience, and you do, but it's spread out to the point where it's not really it's not an electoral advantage. But if he has a big audience in America, then maybe he's got some kindling to start a fire. So
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's interesting. As I said, it's an uphill battle. I would be interesting to watch him on debate stage with Trump. That would be a lot of fun content for us to cover. So I'm rooting for him on that ground alone. And I would be interested to see that naturalized versus natural born thing go to Supreme Court and see what happens there.
right.
Forrest for $5 says, sure is a super small issue when nobody in the internet or mass media shuts up about it and kids are being irrevocably harmed due to social contagion. Yeah, no, I agree.
Well, he seemed to agree on that. At least he was willing to admit that there's a social contagion, which, I mean,
Right.
good luck getting Lance to admit that.
Sure.
Good luck getting Hassan to admit that.
Yeah. Yep. Glib Facsimile for $5 says pure narcissistic delusion masking his utter disdain for America. Cenk and his brother are just gray wolves pretending to be woke, nothing more. I don't know what you mean by the gray wolves pretending to be woke. I don't think Cenk hates America at all. I mean, I wasn't getting an America bad sense from our conversation or from a lot of things he says. So I think he's very much on the idea of I mean, obviously his big thing is that, money in politics and the rich are basically corrupting everything. So you could say it's like a rich bad thing or rich elite bad thing, but I don't really get an America bad sense from him.
Yeah, I mean, if you could get the entire Young Turks audience off the America Bad hate train, I
That'd be
just like,
nice. Yeah.
yeah, look, step in the right direction as far as I'm concerned.
Eddie Tosin for $2 says, "Bro, you got jank." What? Yes, thank you, Eddie Tosin.
We did, yeah.
Red 473 for $20 says, "Gentlemen, jank always ascribes bad faith to anyone that mildly opposes him. That is why Joe Rogan stopped going to jank after his debate with Sam Harris. He turns people off with his childish straw manning." There you
Well,
go.
we do. I think we have a fundamental disagreement with Jank on a stylistic strategy for politics. Like I would synthesize my strategy down to, if you disrespect people willy-nilly, they could like 100% of whatever policy platform you have and still vote against you. Like,
Well, I mean, I don't think it's just style because, we were asking the question of, why do people vote Republican? What is the virtue of it? Um, I mean, and I think we just have a difference of opinion in terms of, how the group psychology of politics works, how people advocate for change or tradition works. Um, and I think that's really the primary disagreement that exists. Well, that and I don't think money operates the way in politics to the extent that he does, but um D5280 for 3 months says, "It's the corporations, bro. They control the government and are corrupting it. So what we gotta do is give the government more money and power." There you go. Damien Gershwin for $2 says, "What is Jank's opinion on John Sullivan, Jaden X?" Who is that? Who's Jaden X?
not sure.
Oh, that was the guy that filmed he was on the left, but he filmed that video on January 6th. You probably saw it. Where wasn't he the guy that was like, "Let
Oh,
me
you're
up
right.
there. I have
Yeah,
like a
you're right.
knife or whatever." Yeah. But he was really on the left and he was just kind of filming it, kind of exacerbating everything.
Didn't he get the Ashley Bobbitt shooting on camera? I feel like he did. I feel like
He
that was his
was
video.
It might have been. He was definitely there. I don't remember if he was the one that had that sideways camera angle, but he was definitely there when it happened. So,
Cool.
let's see. Paul Sparks for $5 says, "This is both siderism blather." Intellectual iconoclast for $5 says, "Bullshit. Equity, which you support, is antithetical to equal access opportunity. You railed against equality for equity ad nauseum. Score that." Forrest for $5 says, "Republicans equal greedy, brainwashed, or bigoted. Take your pick. Complete lack of understanding of different moral foundations regarding liberty." Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I do too, obviously. But I mean,
Sammy G for $20 says, "Hey, Sammy," says, "I don't think most people are against paid leave for mothers. Jank, people who are against it don't like the government taking more tax dollars for programs that probably wouldn't happen or be run correctly. The government track record sucks." Yeah. I mean, that's why I asked them. I just, when people talk about, there's two issues. When people point to kind of the polling and they say everyone's in favor of gun control, everyone's in favor of paid family leave, everyone's in favor of Medicare for all, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of like, whenever you kind of get into the specifics of what those programs should entail, how those programs should be paid for, what they should look like. I mean, I think the agreement does break down more significantly,
yeah.
especially it starts breaking down more significantly among party lines. Because remember, even if it's like 60% in favor of something, that's usually 60% of the population, not 60% of the voters. And that doesn't matter. 60% of the population wants something. If it's like 90% of the Democrats want something and 10% of Republicans want something, then it's not, that 60% doesn't translate just in the way that the political process works. But
Paid family leave doesn't touch the gig economy either, right? So that's like a giant number of people that, like,
wouldn't
our
care.
people
Yeah.
Yeah, are people working traditional jobs with paid family leave touch you if you're working part-time at a
No, obviously
shopping
not.
mall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I do think we have giant economic problems in America, but I just like paid family leave seems like it's a policy for people who have, 9 to 5 careers.
well, I mean, first of all, I do agree with you, Sammy, that I think a lot of it is the lack of faith in the government functioning or the government programs functioning properly. So I do think that is a huge part of it. The Republicans could and probably should be pushing for paid family leave because that would be a way to help incentivize people to have children in the first place, which is supposed to be kind of the right wing position, is that we need to increase birth rates. And if you want to increase birth rates, you need to incentivize and make it easier for people to have children. And that would definitely be a way to do it. So,
Paying people to leave their families?
yes, exactly. That's what when they say paid family leave, that's what they mean. So,
I thought so.
yeah. Thaw for $20 says, Cenk, progressive policies include reparations and hate speech laws. Neither of these are expanding the wagon. They are equity, not equality. Cenk, ironically, seems to have a traditional view of progressive, not a current one. Yeah, I don't think when he calls himself a progressive, I do agree with you. I think he's kind of talking about like what you were talking about, Adam, where in the 90s, they sort of demonized the word liberal. And a lot of people kind of adopted progressive as the moniker. And I feel like that's kind of how he's using it. I don't necessarily think he means it in the 2023 year progressive.
I mean, somewhat he does. I mean, he does buy into the trans issues on some level, and I've heard him talk about critical race theory in just, it's an extension of civil rights.
Yeah, but and I guess we should have brought that up. I didn't even think about bringing up CRT. Because to me, that's a level, I'm assuming that's an operation from ignorance rather than policy. Because the way that I kind of see like people that like progressives in 2023 is it's like basically one step away from being socialist, which I don't know. I mean, maybe he was flirting with it. I mean, he was against it, but maybe there's a little bit of a flirtation there. I'm not sure. Okay. D528 for $10 says, my job just had a training on how to defeat whiteness in the workplace. Oh my God. And they boast about it publicly. The curriculum sounded like it was written by the SS. Left wingers are the racist. That's pretty insane. That's definitely pretty insane.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously. You look at some of these DEI training literature pamphlets, whatever you want to call them, and I mean, you're just like, these people have just a completely different worldview.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why you can't allow people to tell you to shut up and keep your head down. Because when you shut up and keep your head down,
oh yeah,
you allow these extreme voices to take over your side unopposed. Because no one wants to piss them off, essentially. So Stuck for $5 says, and with that Rittenhouse comment, Cenk has lost the entire audience. LOL. yeah.
Our audience?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did cover the Rittenhouse stuff, and
sure.
People were a lot more receptive when Anna came on and said, "Look, I got the Rittenhouse stuff wrong."
Of course.
But I mean, we can hypothesize that Anna is working on Cenk like behind the scenes.
There you go.
Maybe they're just it gets to a point where like I'm not trying to convince Sitch certain things that I know we disagree on. There's like at some point you're like, yeah, it's never going to change. So I'm making it worse by bringing it up.
Things that we disagree.
Not really voluminous. Come on.
Okay. But I guess I don't really understand Cenk's position on Rittenhouse. I mean, I understand what he's saying.
He buys into the narrative that he was going there for trouble.
I guess, and maybe it's just that simple. Like that was the narrative that was put out there originally, and it's just kind of stuck. I mean, to me, it's very crystal clear that that's not what's going on there. But
right, yeah.
Sammy G for $5 says, this is the greatest comedy show. Thank you guys for the stream. LMAO. Well, thank you, Sammy.
Yeah, I can't wait to read your guys' comments. I mean, I look, I thought it was great. And
Yep.
Cenk was very generous, stuck around for a long time.
For an extra 40
Before
minutes. Yeah.
before we started, oh my God, it was just a mother to get the right microphone working for him. And he
Yeah. Yeah.
completely persevered, and oh, I'm so glad we got that worked out. So
Yeah. It was good because, yeah, I mean, we spent like 10 minutes because me and Adam were actually not late for once. We spent 10 minutes, and I give Jank a lot of credit for this. He spent 10 minutes like trying to get his mic working on Zoom because it was picking up like his computer mic and not his mic for a very long time. So
he stuck
uh
with it.
stuck with
Persistence
it, yeah.
paid off. Yeah.
It did pay off, yeah. Godlike Snake, thanks so much for being outside the simulation for 11 months. Thank you. Says, damn, Jank, you were so emotional. There's no way in hell you wouldn't have done the same thing. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't, if you're there and there's a guy who's like 2 or 3 times your size chasing you, I mean, I think you kind of are going to shoot him. I think you have to shoot him at that point. I mean, that's why I asked that question. I just don't foresee you trying to get into some sort of scuffle over a gun. That seems like a very good way to die at that point. So,
He did say, you're ultimately responsible if you bring the gun. And I was thinking, yeah, to make sure that a mentally ill person doesn't take it away from you and just start mowing down the audience, right?
right.
So,
The crowd.
well, yeah.
Zero Smoke for 3 months says Rittenhouse is a hero. He showed where police weren't doing their jobs and helped protect the livelihoods of honest business owners. Jank is garbage. I mean, I agree that I think Rittenhouse. I mean, we could have done an entire stream on Rittenhouse, honestly, but I agree that Rittenhouse had every right to be there, um, completely, morally, legally, and that I don't think he was in the wrong at all at any point in that night. I don't think walking around open carrying a gun is a provocation. I mean, the fact that it only quote provoked a one person who is a crazy person, like, I don't see that argument. That argument doesn't make sense to me. But and I think it's totally, and I said that's why I said in the conversation, I think if you as an individual, I can understand that people are crazy. I can understand people have gone through bad things in their life, and I can be somewhat sympathetic to that. But to me, nothing ever justifies people who have had bad situations taking out their bad, like saying, listen, I can't fix my situation, so I'm going to screw up your situation. Like, there's like this really despicable impulse in humans, broadly in humans, because we see it repeated through history, to say, oh, if I'm in misery, I want to like spread my misery. Misery loves company. I want to spread my misery to those around me. In a lot of ways, I think that's what rioting is. It's this idea of spreading misery, spreading your misery or your perception of misery to other people. I don't think the first generation immigrants who owned car lots in Kenosha have literally anything to do with, policing and how policing manifests in that neighborhood, in that community whatsoever. So if people are so don't have any control over their own emotions, if people are so irrational and so emotional that they're like, oh, I have problems in my life, even real problems. I have problems in my life, so that's going to justify me lashing out to destroy an innocent person's business and everything they work for. I don't have any sympathy for that person. I say, well, if you get removed from the gene pool because you're acting crazy and irresponsible and irrational, I'm not going to shed a tear over that at all. So it's kind of the same thing.
Sing it, brother.
We're going to see that's happening right now because, there's a situation right now with, this very insane situation right now with Hamas literally invading Israel, not just shooting rockets, but invading, the borders of Israel, and, taking hostages, killing people, raping people, like completely disgusting. And I've already seen both people saying that this is completely despicable. And I have seen a handful of people who are making these crazy excuses like, well, their life is bad, so therefore it justifies them doing these like atrocities. And I never bought that argument. That argument's insane to me. So,
Well, look, when I'm doing the corn filter, don't make like a dark turn like that. It's just completely, it's bad optics.
right. Okay.
You didn't know I was doing the corn filter, so it's not your fault.
Oh, yeah, you had, I didn't realize you had the
You're
corn.
like talking about Israel. I'm like over here
Yeah, the corn. Okay.
corning out.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't have the thing up, so I
Look,
didn't say.
people wanted the corn filter, so I felt
Okay.
obligated. And
Okay.
then you said something about Kyle Rittenhouse, and I thought, I wonder if I can give Corny a gun over here.
Oh my God. Terrible.
Sucker!
Terrible. I
How
mean,
dare you!
honestly, I think that corn
Don't
filter,
try to take my gun away!
I think that corn filter should be classified as a war crime itself, honestly. So,
Look at this! Get away from my store! How dare you! How dare you!
Stock Jar says, Sitch, his hands were inches away from the gun. Yeah, yeah.
Get your hands away from my gun!
I don't think that would be convincing to Cenk, but yeah.
I don't even have hands to hold this big gun. I'm scared you want to take it.
Why was Kyle Rittenhouse justified in shooting the corn?
Yeah.
No, that's a question. Why was Kyle Rittenhouse justified in shooting the corn?
Yeah. Oh, why?
Because it was stalking him. Ah!
Did you steal that from the chat? That was
No,
good.
No.
That was
my
good.
insane pun genius just came up with that stupid joke.
That was amazing.
There you go.
That was great. Look, I'm going to turn off my hatred of puns just for this stream. Just for that joke.
You see what I did, guys? I healed Adam's heart today. His pun heart grew 3 sizes today. All you have to do is make a pun about Kyle Rittenhouse shooting someone.
Yes.
Related to corn, and we're on board, baby. We're back. This is okay. We figured out the key here. This is how to get Adam to like things. We need to make a Kyle Rittenhouse musical. And I think we can get Adam to be on board with musicals.
Oh man, that would be great. That would be amazing.
Somebody get on that. I want the Kyle Rittenhouse the musical. Okay.
No, he's an executioner. No.
No, that'll be part of the debate. You have whoever's playing Kyle's like running back and forth on the stage. It should be like a stage play too.
Right.
And one side's like, he's a murderer. He's a hero. See, this is like, oh my God, totally beautiful. You could have the courtroom and everything. Oh, I can see it so clearly in my mind. This is desperate.
Kyle Rittenhouse crying on the stand.
Yes.
Crocodile tears. Crocodile tears.
Yes, you could cut to like all the pundits. Oh my God, I want this so badly.
I know. That's great.
Kyle Rittenhouse, the musical.
Wow.
Spencer Harmon for $10 says, how did Rosenbaum get gunpowder burns on his hands? Yeah, there you go. Stock for $2 and all caps says plastic bag. Yeah, the whole keep repeating the plastic bag thing is just doesn't mean anything. So Senwini for 9 months. Thank you. Says, seems like Cenk does not seem to understand the concept of deadly force. Thank you for the streams. Well, thank you for the 9 months. James Jimmy for $5 says, if a woman is being raped by a guy but she won't die, should he be shot? Quote, she shouldn't be such a scared female dog, Cenk. Well, I'm assuming, I mean, we were talking about property. I'm assuming Cenk would agree that if a woman is being sexually assaulted, that she has a right to shoot the person. So Orca for $2 says, Wormy is more intellectually capable than Cenk. Well, there you go.
Look, a lot of super chats against Cenk, so
yeah, people didn't like the Rittenhouse part. Listen, Wormy's more intellectually capable than most of us. All right, there's a secret genius there.
The ragdoll kitty.
Yep. Calvin Paffer for $20. Thank you, Calvin. Says, did Cenk believe Kyle was the aggressor? I'm so confused by his position. Yeah, I think his position is that just by being there physically with a gun open carrying, he argues that is the provocation. To me, I completely disagree. I think open carrying is the furthest away, is like the opposite of provoking someone. It's telling someone not to attack you at all. So I think comparing that to like, yeah, obviously if you take a gun and you open carry and you go up to someone's house, that's a completely different situation than you essentially defending property or even walking around in public in the middle of a contentious sort of protest riot situation. So Blankenstein for 3 months says, Jank applies some intellectual honesty to your argument. Maybe those rioters shouldn't have been there and put Kyle in that position. Very true. Jamie the Panda for $2 says, thanks, Sitch and Adam. I needed a good laugh today. Well, there you go.
Look, it is a comedy show.
It is a comedy show. That's true.
You have to at least respect Jank's performance.
Like, he's a great performance.
Yeah. How do you debate this guy? The whole time I'm just busting
laughing.
a gut. Yeah, exactly.
Very
I cannot get angry. I don't know if it's a good debate tactic. I know sometimes people will say I'm too mean, or I feel like I need to scare the shit out of this person. I am not scared at Jank. I'm loving it.
Yeah, I agree.
When he's like shaking and making look, Sitch.
It's very entertaining.
I know. Yeah. Look, maybe when Sitch does his face reveal and we are both on camera,
you'll see I do the exact same thing.
Look, we can compete. Sitch and I, look, when we start telling our stories, I mean, we try to outdo each other with how zany and crazy it can be. This could be a virtuous cycle. Like we could be as crazy as Jank in a year from now.
That's true.
Look, I got nothing to compete against here.
In terms of
emoting,
yeah. Oppositions.
Oh yeah, let's make that clear.
Yeah.
I love that you saved me on the gender identity disorder.
Yeah. I know someone's gonna be like, I'm gonna complain about it.
Okay, it's all right. No biggie.
Dirty South FGC for $10 says, Jank, with all respect, I defend my loved ones and their property with all my being. If that means taking someone's life who trespasses against us, so be it. Agreed.
Yeah.
Damien Gershwin for $2 says, Adam and Sitch, I hope you learned a lot from Jank today. Yeah. We learned a lot about his positions.
So. We asked a lot of questions that I don't think other people were asking. So,
Lunar Cryogen for 8 months. Thank you. Says, so ironic, Jank telling the left not to be violent when leftist radicals attack Kyle and burn the city for at least 2 days. S-class. Well, thank you, Lunar. Damien Gershwin for another $2. Thank you, Damien. It says, Jank, thank you for educating these two radical extremists. Yes. We were very radical, and now we're not. We've been de-radicalized. Travis Lamb for $5 says, have him explain the Kyle Rittenhouse video. I'm starting to think he hasn't seen the whole thing. Yeah, or at least his memory about it is not as clear, because, I mean, he was on the ground when the guy hit him with the skateboard. Right? I'm not misremembering that.
Look, the guy came up on. Look, all this is on video.
As the guy hit him with the skateboard. So
I don't know that this. I mean, he was talking about Anna doing the Zapruder film with the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff. I mean, we did that the night it came out. Sitch and I were texting back and forth. I was like listening to CNN, just the shit show that CNN was. You could see in the video a guy run up behind him and hit him in the back of the head with a rock, and that's how he got tripped up and fell to the ground.
Yeah.
Oh, look.
Yeah, he's like, you know.
I don't know if
I said in the conversation, Kyle's running towards the police. You know, he gets hit by the guy or tripped by the guy. He falls on the ground. He's on his back. People, there's Jump Kick Man who jump kicks him in the face. Right after that's when the guy hits him with a skateboard and is like trying to. And by the way, the guy doesn't just hit him with a skateboard. He hits him with a skateboard and he's trying to pull the gun away out of his hand. And this is all while there's like this big crowd of people that are like, bearing down on him. Like, what is the thought process in that moment? Do you think that they're just going to, peacefully hand you over to the police? You don't know what's going to go on in that situation.
There are 3 main videos that are important. And I don't know if they just watched one video, but there's the one in the parking lot where he throws the bag. Obviously, we know Jank watched that video because that's the one he talks about. But there's also the one where he's following him. And I think there's 2. There's someone who's in the crowd that's shooting, and also another one surfaced that the guy who got his arm shot off, Gage Grosskreutz, shot and ran up and literally talked to Kyle Rittenhouse as he's running to the police. He says, I'm going to the police. He falls back. And this is before he's on the ground. And then there is another video from the police's POV that is him lying on the ground and shooting the other people. So look, I don't know how you can have, well, I guess I know how you can have the position. You have the position because you think Kyle Rittenhouse didn't have a right to be there or shouldn't have been there, or you think he went there looking for trouble and he found it. I mean, if that's the narrative, I fundamentally disagree with that narrative.
Yeah, but I feel like you can say even if you agree, for a hypothetical, or concede just for the sake of the argument that he shouldn't have been there, which I think he should have, but I'm just saying for the sake of the argument, if you say, well, yeah, okay, he shouldn't have been there, but once he's there, I mean, does that completely invalidate people attacking him? I don't see how it does, because those people shouldn't have been there either. Rosenbaum shouldn't have been chasing him. I mean, the fact that he's crazy makes it even more that you shouldn't be chasing him. And then if he's running towards the police, well, I mean, why are people trying to stop him? Why are people jumping him when he's on the ground?
Why does the guy who runs up to him and says, "What are you doing?" and he says, "I'm going to the police." Why does that guy later show up and pull a gun out and aim it at him?
Because no one's thinking. They just see this, they don't understand the situation. They see this guy with a gun. He falls. They hear people, he shoots at someone and he shoots someone. And then everyone just thinks, oh, they're going to be a hero or whatever. Like no one, it's a completely chaotic situation. And everyone's acting really stupid, except for Kyle. Kyle was like the only one who seemed like he was not acting stupid. He didn't spray and pray. He shot the people that were attacking him and pointing guns at him. And then he got up and continued going to the police.
I'm glad I asked the question or made clear my position that if those people hadn't assaulted him, they would be alive today. Like I don't understand how you can say it's not their fault.
Yeah, 100% is their fault. It's 100% their fault. But okay.
Anyway, look, Kyle Rittenhouse.
It's
going to be a place in our hearts. Remember when we watched the trial, Sitch?
I do.
Oh my God. Fun. I was like, oh, this is so heart-wrenching.
I know.
We were worried. We were worried that Kyle Rittenhouse was going to be convicted. He's so obviously innocent. They did all the bullshit with let me zoom in. Let me blow up this grainy drone footage from 10,000 miles away. Yep. Look, you can see he raised the gun and pointed it at Rosenbaum. He was the aggressor.
Yeah, after he was being chased, he points the gun at him. He stops for like a quarter of a second, then he starts running away again, and he keeps chasing him immediately. So, I mean, it's like everything was so clearly in Kyle's favor in that situation. But anyway.
But us saying that, like the narrative is, you're defending a neo-Nazi. Oh my God, you guys are probably Nazis.
Trying for 5 months says, Gage Grosskreutz testified under oath that he only got shot after he pointed his illegal gun at Rittenhouse. There's no way Cenk watched the trial. Yeah, well, we didn't even talk about Gage, but yeah. Damien Gershman for 2 hours says, Adam and Sitch, Cenk can teach you all a lot. Do better. Well, thank you. Pat Brown Buffalo for $20. Thank you. Says, is Kyle guilty? Is Hassan a fool? Will I crush Biden in the primary? Justice is coming. Of course. Thanks for having me on, brothers. Fine. Well, thank you. Very original for 2 Canadians says he crossed state lines. Well, at least that's true. That wasn't said, right? Was that said? He didn't say that.
Of course not.
He didn't say the cross state line. Alex asks for $5, says, Cenk acts like skateboards are made of styrofoam or something. I'm taking a Cenk self-defense advice with a brick of salt. There you go. Vanessa for $20. Thank you, Vanessa. Says, per Wikipedia, Cenk was born in Turkey. Wouldn't that disqualify him for running for president? Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. I'm very curious about how that will play out in the courts. I don't think it will go the way Cenk thinks it will, but I would like to see it argued.
Yeah.
Degenerate.
Yeah. I have a soft spot for the immigrant story. The immigrant obviously, coming here illegally, jumping through all the hoops. I mean, I have so many friends that are just lifelong friends that are immigrants, and it's just like, it blows me away that someone is born in a place and they think, look, this idea has inspired me. I want to be an American. I want to live in that country. I want to be a go-getter.
Right.
I mean, that's inspirational to me. I mean,
Well,
maybe it's soy, maybe it's gay. I don't know. Call it whatever you want, but
the thing is, and I mean, I'm not familiar with the case that he was citing because it wasn't about that, it was about something different. Because even like part of what makes this kind of a complicated question is even if you are in favor of saying, well, someone comes here when they're young and they become a citizen and it's like, 30, 40 years later, can they run for president? But that's very different than like
the
it,
Manchurian candidate. I
well,
know.
not even the man. I'm not even talking about the Manchurian Candidate. I'm just saying if under the legal logic that he was putting forward, where you just say, well, every American citizen is granted equal rights, that includes the ability to run for president, wouldn't that mean that you couldn't have any time restriction on it? So like someone becomes a citizen and then next year they just can run for president. Like I wouldn't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can write these laws however you want. So
Mm-hmm.
they have a
Well, no,
30,
but you
you have to
can't
be,
because the argument that they're making is that the Fifth Amendment says that if you're a citizen you're an American citizen, you have the same rights as every other American citizen. And so therefore you can't make a distinction between natural born citizens and naturalized citizens.
right.
And so that if that argument held up in this regards regarding the
I see what you're
president,
saying.
I don't know how they could pass a time limit, even though I mean, a time limitation, even though I think they should.
Right.
So,
Hmm.
uh, Degenerate point 357 for $10 says the Biden created more jobs thing is misleading. During inflation, many households still work multiple jobs. He also added 10,000 jobs to the IRS. His job creation achievement are horrible. Well, there you go.
Yeah, is that the thing? I don't know.
I don't know about the truth claim of that, but there you go. Oh, and Alex S, thank you. That was your first super chat you've ever given. Thank you.
Yeah.
JMac, our surrogate father for $200. Thank you so much, JMac. It's
Yeah, that's
incredibly
awesome.
generous as always. JMac says, keep money out of politics and put it into the Sitch and Adam show. Oh,
I like it.
Thank you, Jay.
I like it. Yeah.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be great? We should
It
start
would
a
be.
super PAC. We really should. Just
Just
so
for us,
JMac can get a tax deduction.
we should, That's a good point. That's a good point. CSA pitch. Oh, look. It's my alternate twin brother,
wow.
CSA pitch. For $5 says, am I crazy or are you not eligible to run as president, Cenk, since you said you came to the US when you were 8, making you not a natural born citizen? Yeah. Well, we talked about that.
Kids are cruel, aren't they?
They are. Dr. Diddler for $2 says, it was cool of Cenk to do this. It's a shame he's still a bit crazy, especially believing there's no difference in the parties.
Is it a shame? I mean, I feel like it's good content. So,
well, I guess that's a good point.
Look, Pete, you're going to disagree with people all the time. So,
Dr. Diddler for $4 says, I'd be interested to see how President Cenk would attempt to win over conservatives as president of all Americans. It sounds like he would just constantly shit on them because he thinks, despite his hedges, that they're all stupid, ignorant, bigoted, or all of the above. You can't negotiate coming from a position of sneering indignation. Well, I don't disagree with you, but I would also argue I'm pretty sure Biden feels the same way. Or at least he's acting like he feels the same way. So I don't know if that matters once you win the office. Dr. Dill for $2 says, Kyle Rittenhouse was standing there menacingly, which of course forced people to mindlessly rush them. What a bastard. True.
yeah.
Dr. Dill for $2 says, I think you said once that a lot of people on the left having problems with the aesthetics of guns. You found you just see Cenk's visceral disgust with them. He doesn't give a reason. It just seems guttural. Yeah, I mean, it definitely came across that way to me, that there's this sort of just visceral reaction to, I think you put it perfectly. A person is there, they have a scary gun. Like, this person has to be wrong, right? And also the perception that Kyle is right wing, and that the protesters are left wing. There's so much that kind of plays into it, unfortunately, as opposed to just being able to remove all the extraneous elements of it and just focus on like the bare bones facts of what was going on and the moral question, like in a vacuum.
I think people are super drawn to this story too, because it's something everyone can understand on a very visceral level. Like we can
Yeah.
all relate to being in Kyle Rittenhouse's situation. And I mean, even the people who are against Kyle Rittenhouse can kind of look.
They're on the other side. Yeah, they're putting themselves in the other people's shoes.
Right.
Like I'm out here protesting for the rights of black people to not be killed by the police. And
Okay,
there's
there you
these
go.
evil
That's it.
conservatives with their guns and their camo, coming here looking for a fight because they secretly hate black people,
It's
blah, blah, blah,
look,
blah, blah,
it's
blah, blah.
tough for me
Right.
because I fundamentally don't believe that narrative.
I
Just
don't
don't
either, but
believe
that's
that
what,
narrative.
right.
It's
But the people,
manufactured. But the people who do obviously are,
that's what they believe.
they're
Yeah.
good people. Yeah. If that was the case and we were living in that America, I mean, we'd be living in 1950 for one thing, right?
Sure,
But
right. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Dr. Liv from $2 says, did you ever see the video of the police critic going through use of force training and failing miserably? What I wouldn't give to see Cenk try it. I haven't seen that. No, check it out. He linked the video. So, I mean, I definitely think that there are, I've had criticisms of training for police. I think that is the solution for a lot of these problems is better police training. I think there should be physical requirements that exist and continue to exist throughout through your lifetime as a police. I think they need to have better combat training, better adrenaline training, things of that nature. But that kind of comes up in his conversation with Hassan in terms of like what should be done. Why defund the police is such a terrible idea and what should be done to fix some of these issues. But okay. Dr. Diddler for $2 says the mayor of the region was killed by Hamas. Vosh says, quote, think of the Palestinians. He's literally doing the Norm Macdonald joke. Oh, really? Wait, he linked the tweet. Let me look. Let me look at this. So there was a tweet from the Spectre that says, breaking, Ofer Libstein, the mayor of Israel's Sha'ar HaNegev region, has been killed by Hamas. Okay. You following this, Adam?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Israel shot a missile and killed a Hamas member?
Let me start over. Okay. There's a tweet that says, breaking, Ofer Libstein, the mayor of Israel's Sha'ar HaNegev region, so he's an Israeli mayor, has been killed by Hamas. So this is the region that
shot a missile and hit him.
No, they invaded the region on foot and killed him.
Okay. So rocket power grenade. Shoulder fire missile.
No, I don't know. There's no missiles. We don't know. I mean, I'm assuming they might have shot him with a gun.
Okay.
Right.
Doesn't it say?
He says he was killed in a gun. It says he was killed in a gunfight. Okay.
Okay.
So he was shot. Okay.
Gotcha.
So that's the tweet. Vosh quote tweeted it and said, "A lot of innocent Palestinians are going to suffer for this."
Insane.
Yeah, it's not a great tweet.
This is a little disgusting to me. The fact that people use the suffering of others to build their social media presence. It's gross.
Yeah.
How's it look? I would never in a million years tweet something like that.
Well, okay.
That's totally disgusting.
I'm going to put on Good Faith Gary for a second and I'm going to take it off.
Don't you dare.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to put on Good Faith Gary for a second. Listen, I will even Good Faith Gary Vosh. Okay. I'm going to take it off in a second too. My Good Faith Gary of this is Vosh is a leftist. He knows that he has a bunch of crazy leftists who hate Israel.
You're making my point. Wait, how's this Good Faith Gary?
Well, you'll see. It's
even more disgusting.
Let me cook here for a second. Okay. Vosh himself doesn't like Israel. He famously talked about glassing Israel. He obviously does not care about Israel. Now, you could say, if I was going to be very charitable, that perhaps this tweet is he's trying to be persuasive to his leftist audience that doesn't like Israel as to why this action by Hamas should not be celebrated. Saying, you shouldn't be cheering this because all it's going to do is essentially destroy the people that you want to help. Right. That'd be my good faith Gary interpretation of the tweet.
All
Now,
right.
I'm gonna take off good faith Gary for a second.
Thank you. Oh
Right.
God, that was painful.
I'm gonna put that down because there are two tweets after it, and so maybe we
Oh
can shed some more
no.
life on it. Where he says Israel uses its
Vosh
immense.
says this. These are Vosh
These are
follow-ups.
Vosh tweets, yeah, that are
Okay.
right under it. Israel uses its immensely disproportionate power to inflict wretched conditions on Palestinians. Wretched conditions engender resentment and guarantee terrorism. Israel uses terrorism as a justification to worsen conditions. The cycle repeats. I really hope Israelis recognize their nation's policies essentially guarantee conflict and jeopardize the safety of both them and Palestinians. And only Israel has the power to alter the conditions that lead to things like this horrific attack from Hamas.
Well, that's
So,
not true.
yeah, so uh, I think judging from his follow-ups to that, I don't think it was sort of the good faith interpretation is accurate. I think this is kind of like the whole Israel basically was asking for this. It's how I kind of read this series of tweets, which I obviously think is disgusting. I don't agree with everything Israel's foreign policy is regarding Palestine, Hamas, and I mean the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, which everyone forgets are actually two different regions controlled by two different government bodies. That being said, nothing would justify what Hamas is doing. Hamas does not show any willingness, and this is what kind of annoys me in these conversations. Israel is not, Israel cracking down on Hamas and all these other organizations. It's not like in a vacuum. Israel didn't just wake up one day and say, "Hey, we're evil and we want to like harm the Palestinians." Like everything happens for a reason. And part of the reason this is happening is like, okay, well, after these wars, where basically Israel just kept getting attacked and they essentially just kept winning and then winning more territory because they kept getting attacked. And the surrounding Arab countries didn't really want to help or absorb the population of Palestinians. They just kind of wanted to foment this continuing conflict on the border, number one. And then number two, you have with like Hamas and a lot of people in the Gaza area were going off on all these terrorist attacks where they would blow up buses and start, doing these suicide bombings and all these other things. And that's why Israel's like, okay, well, we need to completely lock down your ability to get aid, and you mean to completely control the kind of what goes into your country because we're trying to stop you from getting missiles, from getting guns, from getting weapons, which they're doing and they're still doing. And then they say, oh, well, because you're locking down us from getting, supplies, that justifies us getting the weapons that we were trying to get in the first place. And so the whole thing seems kind of dishonest to me, this critique of at least Israel from that perspective. And I think I am curious as to what the Hamas thought process is at the moment, because usually, and I don't know what was going on locally, usually these attacks that Hamas does, there's some local justification for it. Like there's going to be some election between Hamas and the government and the West Bank, and they're just trying to rally support or something. Because, I mean, everyone's predicting that essentially Israel's response to this is just going to be to march into the West Bank and just take it over completely. And it's kind of hard for me to imagine that doesn't happen after this.
Look, I think we should wait on this. Obviously, it looks
Yeah.
like.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Look, I feel like we jumped on the story about the ousting of Kevin McCarthy before we really had a chance to look into it. And this is like, look, this is 46 minutes ago. Israel live updates, death toll climbs to over 300. Live update from 21 minutes ago. Israel says it's at war after Hamas surprise attack.
Yes.
Look, I don't necessarily know what's going on here. So, yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, sure, I agree with you. First of all, I don't think I said anything wrong in that conversation about McCarthy, which we're gonna have a conversation about probably in the future.
No, look, we did amazing coverage for it just happening on the fly. 99% of that was you, Sitch. Obviously, I'm just
me yelling. Yes.
Well, no, you had an argument to make that I didn't see any flaws with, and still don't see any flaws with to this day. We're going to talk more about that on Tuesday.
Right.
I'm just saying, a lot of people Look, it's better if we know what we're saying, especially if it's like this kind of craziness. So
Right. But
anyway, but go ahead.
no, I just want to say so regarding the thing with Israel, as I was just saying, I don't know what the thought process was from Hamas's perspective, because assuming they're not just like stupid and crazy, because I mean, most people seem to be predicting that essentially this is going to give Israel the justification morally and politically to just march into the West Bank and just end the whole situation forever and just, have the whole place on military lockdown forever. And it
Well,
will
it
just
looks like
become
that
part of
might be
Israel.
what's happening.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So that's why I'm saying I don't know. I have no clue what Hamas's thought process was to basically create this situation, which that is how I foresee what's going to happen. So I think that's how most people foresee what's going to happen. There were some people making musings about Israel using this even as a further justification to attack Iran. I have no clue. I have no clue if that will happen, but we'll see. It's going to be very interesting whenever it happens. It's obviously horrific. So,
Crazy. Wow.
yep.
Things are heating up. You still
Rosh also
feel like
said,
there's not like this is a unusual time?
what?
You still feel like this is not an unusual time? You're usually pretty Pollyanna
Well,
about,
no,
well,
no more than, I mean, Israel having disputes and wars with its neighbors is not exactly unusual, Adam. I don't know.
oh, okay.
Right.
I'm like, where's my Bible?
Yeah. Um, th That's funny. Vosh also said, as 9/11 and its aftermath taught us, occupying and oppressed people and subjecting them to an endless cycle of violence and deprivation is the only known way to stop terrorism.
Why
So
does
there you
anyone
go.
listen to Vosh?
Because
Is my
they're
big question.
very dumb leftists. That's the answer to the question.
Wow.
It's actually really gross because there's this guy, I don't know if you know him, his name Eli Valley. He's like super lefty, has almost every take he has is the wrong take. He's like one of the dumbest people around, and he's like a political cartoonist, and he draws very, very disgusting, ugly art. And he drew this art that's all comparing how Ukraine and Palestine are like the same fighting for freedom.
Mm,
How do you feel about that? Yeah,
yeah.
it's pretty disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay,
Sometimes words don't do things justice.
yeah, pretty despicable. So
Where's this
okay,
tweet? I didn't get to make my MAGA joke
what?
or my so Cenk did this tweet. I love this tweet. I didn't want to look, I was going to retweet it. Um I didn't want to like poison the well before Cenk got here obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But Cenk says, if you ever notice that the same MAGA guys who claim to be so tough are the first ones to cry when anyone says anything about them. Hillary says they're in a cult and they cry like babies. Their feelings were hurt.
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably cry about that one comment for years and years and years. Look at this. Is this the way to win over MAGA votes?
No, no.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, but he's not trying to. It's not really.
No, he's not sure. This is like the stylistic difference.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's not trying to win no blue votes.
But I wanted to retweet this. I want to say, that's right. Anna Kasparian called Vosh trash months ago, and he's still crying about it.
Right.
That's a good tweet.
That's a good one.
Look, I don't want to cut you off on the Israel.
No, that's fine. I've
okay.
kind of run out of things to say in Israel.
Okay. I don't know how much we can say about it. If there's like a full scale war invasion going on right now.
Sure.
Right.
It's going to be wild to me if lefties start comparing Ukraine to Palestine. I might lose it because that's so fucking stupidly insane.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ukraine didn't bomb Moscow.
Yeah.
Can you imagine such a thing? Like it'd be a completely different scenario if that happened.
Yeah, Ukraine hasn't spent the last 60 years shooting missiles at Israel. I mean at Russia. So, you know. But anyway.
Isn't I thought Vosh supported Ukraine. This is why, look, this
He
is
does. He
why.
supports Ukraine and Palestine. So he's being consistent.
No, he's being inconsistent.
Or he's just
And he's
being
just
fucking
doing,
idiot.
he's like trying to make the world. Yeah, this is why. Who listens to this guy?
Right.
Who listens to this guy? If you can't tell the difference between those two situations,
Mm-hmm.
you are retarded.
Yeah.
Anyway, I try to lighten the mood a bit, but
Sure.
should I retweet that?
If you want, it's up to you.
Nah, look, I don't
Okay.
want to call out Vosh when he's
Okay.
doing disgusting stuff.
Probably good.
Just give him too much attention.
Tor for 4 months says there was something soothing about listening to someone's elephant rampage and seeing such an out of control. There's a team reigns supreme. There you go.
That's right.
Yep.
Look, I can't get mad at Cenk. He's hilarious.
It's kind of funny. Yeah, it's funny. So it's kind of, I agree.
It's awesome.
Bob May Go for 15 months says the rider on top of Cenk's elephant is a raging buffalo. True.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, as someone who's got an elephant that's, occasionally gets out of control too. Glass houses here.
Slate King for $10 says to avoid derailing a future stream, Destiny had Pisco on bashing your speaker take. Then he refused to play the clip, just like he bashes Vosh for. Got to write off Haxany until after the election.
Look,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. You go first.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, people, they told me about that. Essentially, that Pisco came on and just attacked my position and our position, and that
and nobody articulated our position in the entire video. That video is soy as can be. And look, Pisco's going to be on Tuesday, and I Am Really Important did a response to us that I thought was laughable. He actually thought that, they could get a Democratic speaker out of this. What, are you delusional? What, are you high? Are you smoking crack? Come on, get out of here. That's not even remotely plausible. Yeah. And you want to say that we have the crazy take. Get the fuck out of here. Right. So both of those guys are going to come on. And look, I don't know who's doing these videos for Destiny, but look, that video is mislabeled. That video should be labeled Destiny Orbiters Run to Daddy to Tattle because they can't actually take an argument that was made on the internet. That's basically what happened. And look, if Destiny wants to listen to those guys, listen to his orbiters, third hand, tell an argument that is a devastatingly reasonable argument that I find it impossible to believe that Destiny would come on this stream and say, oh my God, you're so incorrect. That's so irrational. Destiny is a smart guy. He is not going to do that in a million years. So it's completely weird that these guys are running to daddy to tattle.
Yeah, I agree on the running to daddy thing. I imagine that Destiny would disagree with it and be politically brained on it. So I don't necessarily agree with the last part, but
well, look, you have whether we're basically trying to interpret what's going on in reality, and we're all using the same exact evidence. So if we get devastating evidence that the Democrats came to McCarthy and said, listen, we'll suck your dick, or made him some offer that he couldn't possibly refuse, and then he said, oh, fuck you, I'm not working with you guys, then you'll change your position. We'll change our position, right?
Okay, so I guess to be clear, because I'm sure not everyone even knows what we're talking about, I'll just say it very quickly. My position that I kind of laid out was I thought the Democrats really passed up a golden opportunity to essentially leverage power over the Republican Speaker of the House
to take the power role. Yes.
Right. To sort of say, okay, listen, if you get removed, we're probably going to get someone worse. It's going to incentivize the government kind of just shutting down in 45 days. And so we'll continue to not have any power. But if we can make it so that now the Republican coalition is split between the 8 Gates, trustees and the rest of the Republican Party, that means that McCarthy actually requires the Democrats to stay in power. And now it's not 100%, but it's definitely possible that the Democrats should have at least attempted, in my opinion, to leverage that to say, listen, McCarthy, we're going to make ass now. You can use us as a way to maintain power. Otherwise, we're going to vote you out. You actually have to listen to us now. Otherwise, we're going to vote you out, and you need us. And we're going to use this to basically leverage things out of you.
Right.
Which Now, there's some fact claim contention about whether that conversation actually happened or not, and that's fine. But I don't think you can say that just the position that the Democrats should at least done that, or at least try to do that, is unreasonable. And it's really wacky to me, and it really shows me how partisan brained people are on this issue, where so many people just hate McCarthy, which is fine, but they're just like so emotional about it. They're like, oh my God, why is it like they say the dumbest things that I've ever heard that have nothing to do with it, with the position. We're like, why is it the Democrats' job to save McCarthy? That's like,
look, and that's not what we're saying.
We're talking about. Yeah,
we said, you very clearly said the Democrats are stupid for not taking this huge power away from Gates and company and wielding it themselves, or they're evil because, which look, we can get. I don't necessarily think it's a good idea to call people evil. I understand the argument that Sitch is making. The argument is very simple. He's saying, look, if they had an opportunity to go in a more bipartisan route and they didn't, just because they think, oh, this would be great to watch the Republicans blow up and the country could be damned. I mean, that's pretty bad, right?
Yeah, I said they're either stupid for not seeing this opportunity, or they're being evil in terms of they want the government
passing the opportunity up, yes,
because they essentially think it'll backfire on the Republicans, and so they're they're actually on board with that. Now it could be there's a third option, which we didn't talk about in the video. I haven't seen strong evidence for it, which is that the Democrats did try to work out some deal with McCarthy, and McCarthy told them to pound sand. I haven't really seen compelling evidence for that.
Look, and that would change the whole nature of the debate.
Okay, well,
yeah, look,
100% McCarthy's fault if that's the case.
Yeah, we're not stupid over here. Like, if that's the case, it is totally their fault, and they had it coming. Think of it this way. Look, Matt Gaetz and these 8 Republicans, they've got the fucking guillotine out. They're hanging it over Speaker McCarthy's head every single day. You got to do this. You got to take, you got to open investigations against Biden. You got to do this. We're going to throw you out of office if you don't do this, do that. If 8 Democrats want to step up and say, look, why are we letting them use the guillotine? As soon as we take away their power to axe McCarthy, we have the power to axe McCarthy. Then you're in the power position. You are the swing vote. That's what Sitch is saying.
Yep.
But everybody keeps going back to, oh my God, McCarthy did all this stuff. Yeah, he did, because these a-holes who you voted with were making him do it. They had a gun to his head.
Right. Yeah, and just
why don't you take the gun?
Yeah, it just seems weird to me that there's at least potential to take that power away, and it didn't seem like there was really an honest isn't the right word. Doesn't feel like there was a serious move to even attempt to do so by the Democrats. So,
look, if they made that proposition, if 8 Democrats went and said, look, we're going to save your ass, but you owe us. And McCarthy said, no, it looks bad. Look, I don't want you guys saving me. Then fuck McCarthy. Like, if that happened, yeah.
Right.
But I don't know that we know that yet.
No, we don't. Whenever Hakeem Jeffries asked, he gives these kind of vague answers about it. He certainly never said that he went to McCarthy with any proposal. He kind of floats that maybe other Democrats talked to other Republicans about the issue. I don't know why he wouldn't just sit down, hash out something very concrete, and go to McCarthy and say, I'm the leader of the Democrats in the House, you're the leader of the Republicans in the House. Here's our demands, right? Let's negotiate on this. Do you accept our terms? Like, just, it should be very clear. It shouldn't be this kind of wishy-washy, like, well, we talked to people over the last 2 weeks. Like,
yeah, totally.
Right. It's like, what does that mean? I mean, that means nothing to me. So,
well, I Am Really Important sent us like an article. I sent it to you. He's going to come on. Pisco's going to come on, and look, we can have the conversation. But what we're saying, like this idea that what we're saying is, oh my God, it's insane. You hear the argument here. Does it seem insane to you? It doesn't seem insane to me. It seems very reasoned.
I can guess too. It's funny because, they're just reacting, I think, emotionally, because I was angry in the video because it just seemed very obvious that this was a big miscalculation, and they're like, oh my God, Sitch is angry. So
I don't think you were. Look, I don't think you were angry in the video.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think, look, and
it had an incendiary clickbait title, and so
this is a little look, and that's the game. I don't I don't begrudge him doing that. It's funny to me more than anything. But I do think Destiny didn't listen to the video, and I don't blame Destiny because I feel like he was in an uncomfortable situation because he's got a bunch of people he respects, he's got to work with. They come on his stream all the time. They come and make it out to be one thing, and then he listens to the video and is like, oh my God, this is a completely different thing. It's like, then all of a sudden he's forced to contradict the people that have come on his stream who are in his circle. And at the same time, I mean, it's no mystery that Destiny's fans are just like, I don't know, they don't like us for some reason. So
Sure.
it's like I'm actually glad Destiny turned it off and was like, look, let's just be done with this. Like this is a little going nowhere. So, but we'll have them on. We'll talk about it.
We'll
you guys can,
Tuesday.
you guys can figure out what you think. Look, one of the things that I find more interesting about our shows and other shows is, look, these people, many people who are in this space, they want you to vote what's good for them. They want basically to appropriate your vote for themselves, and you are their minions to go out and make change in the world. I can't do that. We want to find out what the truth is, and we want you to look at what's good for you, what's good for your situation based on the facts.
Right.
Yeah, I have a completely different understanding of voting. And so this is part of the problem, because so many people, like, they lie. Even this is part of what we talked about with Cenk, with the trans bills. Like, if you think, oh, the Republicans are launching thousands of anti-trans bills because they hate trans people, you're going to vote differently than if you know the actual situation is you've got parents out there that care about their kids and are worried about their kids. Mm-hmm. Like that, we're all arguing over what are the facts on the ground because that makes a difference. And I mean, you can make the argument, if you don't have an informed populace, like, you don't have democracy. So I have a fundamental disagreement with most of these people who just want to spin the facts so that you will go out there and be sheep for them and vote however they want. I don't think Sitch and I want to do that or even could do that. We've not cultivated that type of audience.
Right. True. Sodoge for $20. Thank you, Sodoge. Says, sounds like that conversation really went down the jank. I don't, that's funny. Hey, Adam, since he was on, you should take after his nephew and go warm up some nuggies. There may be a video that could tide the audience over meanwhile. There you go. Very funny.
Look, I mean, Hassan's next, right? We talked to Anna and we talked to Cenk. I mean,
there you go. We'll see. Grassroots Hegemon for $20 says, Cenk is Cenk, but there was a few points where he opened himself to criticism by doing this interview, and I will never not respect him for standing with his co-host when she got fired, even if I think he is wrong. Good boss. Yeah,
Thank you. Really good point. Who was that? Who's
Grassroots Hegemon?
Okay, thank you, Grassroots.
That is a good point. Yeah. He never threw Anna under the bus, so I think a lot of credit for that.
Loyalty, even though he doesn't believe in. Well, I don't know. I don't know that he really has been exposed to it. But even though, like, the moral foundations theory, he's high on loyalty. What does that mean, boys?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Cenk has a little conservative in him too. So.
Okay.
Are we good?
Sodos for $5 says, not to Monday morning quarterback, but I think you focus too much on change versus tradition instead of care, harm versus loyalty, hierarchy, foundation of left versus right. Yeah, I mean,
that's got a long backstory.
We didn't really even talk that much about change versus tradition that much, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things, that we could have focused a little bit more on in the conversation. So.
Look, we have a fundamentally different philosophy in doing this kind of thing too, because you can't change people's minds by putting a gun to their head. You just can't. Like, this whole idea that I'm going to go out and debate bro somebody into changing their opinions. I think it's fundamentally short-sighted. And you run into situations that, like Vosh. A lot of people won't talk to Vosh because that's all he wants to do. He's not interested in changing your mind through persuasion. He's interested in changing your mind through force. And that doesn't work. So, I mean, we try to have these conversations. We try to make them fun for our guests. So they want to come back. They want to talk to us. Look, we had What If Alt Hist is on, and he had a great time. He'll probably come back and talk to us again. Same with Think Before You Sleep. Yeah, exactly. So, if we can have positive conversations, I really do think that's how we make positive change in the world. So, and if you go into these conversations like this person's been accused of murder and we're here as investigators, it's not going to work. It's totally not going to work. But, well, look, once somebody has exposed himself as bad faith, like right. I'm still up in the air on Josiah. Josiah came on and I thought this guy's jangles, this guy's bad faith. Like I don't trust him. He's lying. Look, I don't know if he's lying or he's shading the truth just reflexively, like he can't help himself. But maybe he's not bad faith. I can't remember where it was. It was in some comment section or something, but he literally was defending us to some extent. I mean, look, he wasn't it was night and day from what I had seen before, and it made me think, okay, well, maybe this guy is not going to just attack us for no reason. Like maybe we can have honest dialogue with him. And look, maybe we'll invite him on Tuesday too. So we'll see where it goes. Look, Jangles, I think it's just, nothing's going to change with Jangles. So
sure.
Yeah.
Andrew Clark for $2 says, Sitch, check DMs, please. I did, Andrew. And the answer is no, thank you. I'm not going to be that interested in talking to that person.
Oh, okay.
But I appreciate it. Thal for $2 says, thank you. I mean, for $20, thank you, Thal. Says, for us, the right wing in your audience, some of us want Trump because he's going to be fun chaos.
How fun is that? Look, I mean, I guess
I don't know if that's a good reason to vote for someone, but fair enough. Also, we understand the separation of powers and that our democracy is not fragile. Fragile doesn't compute with our freedoms. I mean, I agree. I agree that our democracy isn't fragile. But I do agree that people on the right don't take seriously, some of a lot of the shit that Trump was doing with the electors trying to get Pence to throw out the vote and all that stuff. They're not really taking that seriously, because if Pence was a weaker person and had done that, I don't even know what the fuck would have happened. It would have had, presumably it would have gone to the Supreme Court. Who the fuck knows what the Supreme Court's going to do? And if the Supreme Court rules against Trump, is he going to abide by it? If they rule in favor of Trump, what the fuck happens then? We essentially just had a situation where a candidate just stole the election. Like, it's very bizarre. And I don't think the right has really, I do think the right is completely mistaken broadly on that topic and is not taking it seriously. So,
well, I think you have to be at a place in your life where you're just totally unstable. You're paying rent, you're working a dumb job, you maybe don't have any positive relationships, or you have tenuous relationships. When our society puts enough people in that kind of situation, you do really, you don't care. You really don't care. You got nothing to lose. So yeah, I think that's a fundamental problem.
Situation, sure.
Well, no, I think that's a fundamental problem with our society. I think there are too many people in that situation.
Yeah, so. and I agree that when a lot of people are in sort of economic situations, that's the issue. I don't think Thal's in that position. I think Thal is just in the position of confidence that our country won't collapse, which I agree.
Thal is definitely not in that position. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, I know. That's what I'm saying. And I said this in our conversation with Destiny, which is that I think the right, as I said, is not taking what Trump did seriously, but I also am confident and optimistic, not just because it didn't come out that way, but I was optimistic going into it that I don't think, that all these different avenues of power would have gone along with, Trump on January 6th and all that stuff. And I was confident and optimistic that our democracy would stand and that our institutions would stand, and that the majority of Republicans in positions of power would acknowledge that this was wrong, which is exactly what they did. So
I'm not optimistic because they're going to put that guy right back in power, man.
Well, we'll see what happens then. So. Calvin Paffer for $5 says, how would you guys explain to a woman that leather pants don't look good on anyone, asking for a friend? I would get pictures of people wearing leather pants looking bad, and you just send it to them with no text, no
Look,
explanation. You just keep sending them these pictures.
you can't do that.
You can't do that. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm actually telling you something to get in trouble. You shouldn't do that. Yeah.
You've got
You know,
to.
you should tell. Well, first of all, are you dating them? Or are they just if they're just a friend, who gives a shit? Just tell them they look bad.
Right.
Just say, listen, I love you, but those pants, they're not doing it for you. They don't do it for anyone.
Sitch has a good strategy, but you kind of you got to have a lighter touch than just emailing them to them.
I know. I was joking. Don't just send them pictures. But if they're just a friend, I would just tell them straight up. If it's in a girlfriend, you're in a little bit more of a sticky situation. And maybe you don't tell them. Maybe you just say, oh, yeah. I guess you're going to wear those. So you'll have to fare it out. I'm one of these people in a relationship. I will be completely open with the other person. If it's so annoying. I don't know if you've experienced this where you're dating someone and they're like, oh, can you give me your honest opinion? And if someone asks me this, I will always give my honest opinion. If someone asks me to do
this
that.
Is why Sitch is single right here.
This is why and you're right. Because people say it all the time. They don't really want your honest opinion.
Of course.
And I'm like, listen, I will tell you my honest opinion if you ask. Like, you have to be very aware. I will tell you exactly what my honest opinion is.
When a woman comes to you and says, I want your honest opinion. What she's asking you
that's why I'm
is,
single. You're right. Yeah.
She's saying, I want you to do your best performance.
Yes.
And lie to me.
Exactly. That's exactly it. So.
They're auditioning you. They're like, let's see if this guy can perform. This is a test.
Right. True.
Look, we just lost all the red pill guys. This was our red pill arc. It lasted one sentence.
There you go. No, just gain them back. What do you mean? They're all like, yes, it's true. Women don't want to hear the truth. Mythos Infinite for 20 Canadian says, Adam, get off your phone and pay attention in class. Yeah, Adam, jeez.
Was I on my look? So I had a bunch of notes. I mean, we wanted to
notes. That's fine.
We wanted to get the good conversation going. Is that Twitter, from this stream or from the other stream?
I don't know. Twitter Sucks. Thank you so much, Twitter Sucks, for $20. Says, I absolutely believe that if people spent 1 week going through the academy, they would flip on this insane police brutality narrative. None of these idiots understand what it takes to be a police officer. I agree completely. And not just go through 1 week going through the academy, but like 1 week of just going on the beat and interacting with like people that the police have to interact with.
Oh, I know.
And exist in that system. And then I think so much would suddenly become clear. So, Silence You Idiot for $20 says, hey, yo, I'll need to tune back the VOD later. I've been looking at the whole Israel reaction stuff. Seems like Israel is warning Gaza to evacuate citizens, and they're driving tanks in after the bombing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy.
13 minutes ago, staggering. How did the U.S. miss his surprise attack? Oh my God.
Well, that's kind of the big question I was asking. How did Israel miss this attack? The planning of this attack. So, because it seems like it's a massive screw up on their part.
Tower collapses as high-rise hit in Gaza. Holy moly.
Yep. No, it's going to be the reaction to this is going to be very extreme. So.
Wow. Okay.
Planes Escape Quarter for $2 says, I listen to Vosh for content. There you go. The only correct way. Bobby Miles Foreman III for $20. Thank you. Says, glad that you all are talking to Pisco. I believe he's really the one driving Destiny's opposition to Sitch and Adam.
Really?
Maybe. I don't know. We'll ask him if he's worm tonguing him or something.
I mean, well, after we debated Rob Noor, Pisco sent me a really nice DM and complimented me on it. So, and look, I have a DM from here. He says he loves the show. So I don't know why. I mean, obviously, maybe he's backstabbing us, but
maybe, who knows? He is very bipolar, though.
Right.
And by bipolar, I mean multiple personality. Thal for $20. Thank you, Thal. Says, Trump for House Speaker. Not all because I want to see chaos and I think it'd be hilarious. No, really, stop looking at me. Well, Trump as House Speaker would be hilariously bizarre. That would actually probably be the Republicans' nightmare scenario. because they'd essentially just have to do whatever he said.
Wow.
And I don't think they want that because there's like the whole political strategy now is essentially to not try to get as little done as possible when the other party has a president. That seems to be the strategy since Bill Clinton, and I
It's
think it's
so
kind of
sick.
it is sick, and I think it's kind of been maintaining on and off for 30 years now. So
It's so sick.
yeah. Michael Vestavel for 200 Kazarks. Thank you. Says, good talk, my favorite homophiles. This relates more to talk with what if. Don't it feel like the fall of Rome is just based on pop music? My parents' pop was like, I want to hold your hand. And kids today are like, I do a Kegel while it's in the sun.
I don't know what any of that means, so I'll have to take your word for it.
Is there really a song that has the lyrics, I do Kegels while it's inside? That's hilarious.
What is a Kegel?
You know what a Kegel is?
Uh-uh.
That's the exercise where you flex your pelvic floor muscle.
Oh, okay.
It's you say exercise. It's like it's the muscle where if you're peeing and then you stop peeing, that's your Kegel. Like that's the muscle you're flexing.
Isn't that like a normal part of sex?
You mean to flex that muscle?
Yeah.
I mean, it can be. It doesn't have to
Okay.
be. Right. So, women and men can, both exercise the Kegel for different reasons. But
Right.
every guy should learn the ability to stop peeing.
Right.
I don't think most people do, but you should. It's a very useful skill. You never know when you're gonna be in the stall and the assassins come for you and you have to stop peeing and fight them, right?
I mean, who cares if a little piss is flying around?
You don't want to listen.
Look, I'm thinking nunchucks as I'm peeing.
Yeah, see, you want to be distracted. It's hard to be peeing and doing nunchucks at the same time, Adam. Okay?
Nunchucks midstream. That's what I'm talking about.
It's difficult. Or let's give you a more realistic scenario. Okay, you're in the car.
The assassin,
We've all been in that
he's
situation.
Like, who cares about the bullets? He's dodging
He
the
doesn't
wand.
want to get peed on. Yeah, right. Okay, I'll give you the more realistic scenario because you're right. Who cares? The bathroom of the assassin. You're in the car and you got to pee, and your buddy's like, no, pee into the cup. And you start peeing in the cup, and you're like, uh-oh.
Police officer.
No, you're like, uh-oh, the cup is getting to the top.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no.
Okay, you gotta be able to pinch it off.
I've never been in that situation.
Right, you gotta be able to. Yeah, you gotta be able to stop. It's important to be able to stop. Okay.
You think what? You think, look, this is all I drank. How's this happening?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Exactly. So. Okay. But to answer your question, it'd be funny if I don't know what the pop music of Rome looked like at the time period. Was it becoming more degenerate? Is that what led to the fall of Rome? I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna say yes. Mm-hmm. Mythos Infinite for 20 Canadian says, for the leather pants thing, if it's your girlfriend, you're brave enough. Tell her that you love her leather pants because they remind you of your favorite ex.
No, okay.
You know what? That's actually a very
that is pretty brilliant.
That's a pretty brilliant, sneaky way. You wouldn't word it exactly like that.
Oh my god, okay. It's devious.
No,
Who
that's
said
actually
that?
That's Mythos Infinite. That's actually genius, Mythos Infinite. You are a genius at relationships, okay? Because if your girlfriend's wearing something,
my ex used to wear. Oh, they look so good.
Yeah, if your girlfriend's wearing something, and you either A, don't like it, which is kind of more malicious, but B, she actually looks bad in it and you're trying to protect her, would be to say, oh yeah, those look great on you. And then there's like a pause and you're like, my ex used to wear pants like that all the time. And that's all you say. That's all you say, nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She's not going to want to wear those pants anymore.
Oh yeah.
So that's actually a brilliant way to deal with it, Mythos. So.
Looks so good. You totally remind me of my ex-girlfriend.
No. You're taking it too much. Okay. You got to be subtle. You don't want to get in trouble. Okay. If you give someone that advice, they're going to get in trouble. You can't say, oh yeah, those look great on you. Just like they look great on my ex. You're like, wait a minute. No, stop. Hold on.
Oh yeah.
You just say, you're going to get in trouble with that. You just say, oh yeah, those look great on you.
It's funny because it's just,
pause.
Look, it's like, let's be honest here. This answer is amazing. Okay. But it is a little like Russian roulette, man. You don't really know. You don't really know how that strategy is going to
That's why I say you have to do it
turn
the way I
out.
said it. There's a lot of plausible deniability. Say, oh yeah, those look great on you.
My ex
Pause.
used to wear pants like that.
My ex used to always wear pants like that. You don't say they look good on her. You just let it out there. You're just hanging out
Right.
there. Look, women will draw a million inferences from that statement on their own. You don't need that. I know Adam is all about making things very crystal clear to people.
Yeah.
You don't need to make things crystal clear for women. They will create whatever mental map they
But
want.
that's not good. That's not good. Look,
It
at
is
my
in
experience.
In this situation. If
My experience with women is you're better off making things crystal clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't agree in this situation. I think you should be as vague as possible.
Okay.
So,
Oh, okay.
okay.
Look, we have completely conflicting dating strategies.
Listen, you try it out my way first, and if it doesn't work, you can try it Adam's way and then see what happens. Watch it backfires in both ways. Okay, who knows?
Yeah.
Death by Sloth for $2 says, I think a good argument for why people are skittish to change tradition is that cultural memes are similar to genes, and altering one set of genes can have unexpected effects on another seeming unrelated gene.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
It's unintended consequences. Look, we talk about UBI a lot, and I really like what the UBI guy said when we had him on.
Yeah.
Anyone who tells you that they know it's going to go one way or the other, they don't know. The society is just too complex to know everything. So you just always have to think, yeah, how's this going to turn out? Look, I didn't ask, but I was thinking it on the bail, the zero bail. I guess they called it bail reform. Like the progressives were wrong on that. I mean, they were flat out wrong. Right. If you're willing to admit that, you think, well, the conservatives should have won on that one. But you don't really know until you do it.
Yep. Anyways.
Is that it? All right. This was a great stream. Thanks for coming. Look, you guys are going to get harmonica, even though it's a Saturday. You're technically not allowed to get harmonica, but are we streaming tomorrow or what's
Of course we're streaming tomorrow.
I mean, it's Sunday, but I feel like we should just take the day off because we did it Saturday. Look, I'm kidding. We're streaming tomorrow.
I was for a second, I'm like, I couldn't tell if he was lying. I fuck him, man.
Look, no, we're streaming
tomorrow.
We got too much shit to cover. Look, there's 2 things I want to cover so badly.
I know.
So we Sitch and I still have to box over what we're covering tomorrow. So we're definitely streaming tomorrow.
Okay. Anyways, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your incredibly generous donations. Thank you, Cenk, for coming on and talking to us. It was a lot of fun. And thank you, Agla here, for 11 months, saying good night, y'all. S-Class is best class. Thank you. And thank you, you who watched our conversation with Cenk, you who watched this Super Chat stream. Thank you. You are the true field seekers. You are the true enlightened centrists. And we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye-bye!